Good morning to UK column viewers and listeners. As you can see, I'm here at home and it is a little bit chilly, so I've got my thick sweater on today because England is not at its best. I've got an important interview. I'm going to be speaking to a lady called Iolanda, and Iolanda is in Portugal. But what is really incredible about this interview is that we've we've rekindled uh, a friendship, I think I'm going to say, from way back in 2016. That was the original time that we reported about events around Iolanda and her partner Leon. And the subject is social services in the UK. But here we are in 2025, and we've got the opportunity to speak. So, Iolanda, I'm going to say thank you very much for having that very useful conversation on WhatsApp a couple of months ago. Um, I was delighted that we sort of rediscovered each other. Time passes very quickly. And I want to say a huge thank you for agreeing, for you agreeing to do this interview with me today. So welcome to the UK column.
Ryan, thank you so much for inviting me for this interview. And you actually got me quite emotional now, just for the words that you said.
Well, it's Yolanda, it's a very emotional subject, and of course, viewers of this interview will have already seen that you have a mannequin over your right shoulder wearing a pink T-shirt, and tell us what's written on that T-shirt.
Yeah. So social services kidnap babies for adoption.
Social services kidnap babies for adoption. And this is the subject. And I have to say to you, it's a very poignant subject because over the last week, I've been interviewing other mothers in UK on this very same subject. And of course, way back in 2016, in fact, before 2016, we were trying desperately hard at UK column to get some of the truth out about what was actually happening around social services in the United Kingdom, taking babies and dragging the parents through very uh, onerous family court proceedings. So I know that for you to actually talk to an audience today is going to be emotional, and the subject is so important that we need to still be talking about it. So, Yolanda, I'm going to say once again, thank you for agreeing to do this. And perhaps we should start at the beginning. And that was that originally you were living in UK with baby's father at the time, Leon, and you gave birth. What happened?
Yeah, so I am a Portuguese citizen, and in 2010 I went to England. I'm a cardiac physiologist, and I have worked, for example, in Harley Street in the private hospital. So I was doing very well financially, professionally. I was integrated very well on the English society. And me and Leon, we had we were together for 3 years, and we decided to get pregnant. So we left London and we went to Southampton, not knowing what really Southampton is about. So we planned the birth, and when I was pregnant, because the nurse in the GP, every time that I was going in there was always a different one. So then I decided that the services that I was being provided was not the ideal one. Being the first time that I'm a mother, I would like to create a relationship with the nurse and feel comfortable asking some questions. So then I went on the internet and I decided to look for a private midwife, a nurse, private midwife that was going to provide that service for me. But once it was so expensive, then I found out the service of a doula, and she was a certified lady, American citizen, and she had a home birth herself. But for me, that was not the way to go because in Portugal we don't have the babies at home. But in the long run, more we got to know about how the things are for all the procedure, what's actually the correct position to have a baby, not actually lying down on the bed, and with everything that we learned from her. And once I have been invited by the midwife, after like nearly 9 months, I've been told, once you are a healthy young lady, so then you can decide to have the baby at home, in the birth center in near Southampton. Now I don't have Leon in here to help me out, or in a hospital. So we went to visit that place, and it was not a very nice experience because, for example, I just asked to the nurse if actually, having Leon in you really helped me out with the proper names because I haven't talked about these for a while. So, one of the things that they do to the pregnant woman when she's pregnant and when she's going for the labor, they are going to do the touch to say how dilated she is, correct? Yeah. So, from everything that I have learned with this doula, we learned that actually creates infections. The risk of infection is much higher. So you don't really have to do that, and there is not much information that you can get from that. So on that place, so I just asked when she showed us the isolation of that place, she said in here is where you're going to do the touch exam. And I kindly asked her, do I have to do it, or can I say no? Is like, and she said to me in a very rude way, if you don't want to do it, this is not the place for you to have your baby. And the way she said that, it was so rude. So, every exam that you do in a hospital, everything has to be with your consent. And I know that, I work in a health environment and I know how the things are. So it's not the way sometimes they say it. And so then we exclude that option. And actually being in an environment in a hospital, like lying down on the bed and not moving, that was not the way to go as well. And then we decided then to do a plan for the birth. And the midwife that actually received that, she told me that in more than 20 years of experience, I have never got one. And what was written in a contract, a verbal contract with that midwife, was the home birth is something that happens in England and is very common. And what the NHS does to the woman to provide the security is that sends 2 midwives to the houses. So I was expecting 2 midwives for my home birth. And once the contractions they started, Leon called the NHS, but actually they said that no one was available. So we called the doula. She was in there. She was helping out Leon with the pool at home. And we did everything. Leon was very well prepared, counting down the contractions and all of that. And they kept calling the NHS saying the contractions, but actually 6 hours went down the road and no midwife came. So it's actually 10 minutes before born when actually one midwife turned up at my home, and her attitude was completely wrong because it was, let's move, hurry up, because I have my husband at home. He's waiting for me, and I need to let him go from home because he needs to take care of my child going to the school, and he needs to go work. And I'm like, you are late. It's only 1, not 2, like has been said. And this is not the right attitude to be in a home birth. But I have a very strong personality, I would say. If I have to say it, I will say it. If it's wrong, I will say it. But neither me, neither Leon, neither the doula said absolutely nothing. We thought this is a brilliant time. We are not going to ruin the moment, and we're just going easy. So the woman decided to, once born, we were in a pool, and she just kept brushing me and said, "Come on, mother, now you need to go lie down in the bed because the placenta needs to come out because I really need to go." So basically, what she did, she pulled on the umbilical cord twice, and Leon, being a man, he knew that was wrong. So I screamed, I hold her hand, I asked her, "Please don't do it, you are hurting me." Leon hold her hand too and ask her, "Please don't do that, you are hurting Iolanda." So in a very minutes after, I start bleeding.
So, and Yolanda, just to clarify here, was this the midwife that was pulling on the umbilical cord? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's important to say that her name, she did say that her name was Carol Stone. But let me tell you, Brian, the name that is written down on her card that I have recorded on my home birth, it is not Carol Stone, and she's not registered with the name Carol Stone. Okay? The name that she said verbally, it is not the name that she's registered with, and I know who she is. All right? It is important to say as well that my parents, they were watching the home birth through the Skype, and I have a camera recording the home birth. And she always gives her back to the camera, and she always has hidden her face to the Skype. And she knew that my parents, they were on the Skype because Dola was holding the computer so they met through the computer. It is important as well to say that before she pulled the umbilical cord, she gave me the injection so I could expel the placenta. Now, I know one thing that you never do is to pull the umbilical cord because there is a huge risk to create a severe hemorrhage. And that's exactly what happened. I lost nearly 2 liters of blood. I almost died. I left Leon's house in Southampton completely grey. They called the ambulance service. The 2 paramedics, they could not find any veins because I was completely already without blood. I was completely grey, and Leon really thought that I was going to die in his house, that how bad it was. So they called another paramedics, and I remember that I was inside the ambulance, and the paramedics, they are calling for the nurse. "Where is the nurse? We need to rush this mother to the hospital." And she's nowhere to be found. And I say to the paramedics, "I need to tell you that what is happening in my house, the behavior of the nurse." I don't know if she heard it or not, but and then things happen. I don't know if she's the one that called the social services to distract all the situation from me putting a complaint against her. But the fact is that the paramedics, they called for her, and they said, "You have to come now to the hospital because you are affecting the service and the mother can die in here." And she said, "No, I'm not going to the hospital. I need to go home. My car," that's actually what she said as well before, "my car is wrong parked. I'm afraid to get a ticket and I need to go home. My husband is waiting for me, and my 4 years old daughter is waiting for me. So I need to go home." And the paramedic said, "No, nurse, you are going to the hospital. You are at the service of this mother, and we need to go now." So there was a battle in there in between them. And then the Leon and my son went on her car because the other paramedic took the car to the hospital. Okay, so the paramedic then demanded her to go to the hospital with him. And I remember going inside the hospital and being already very, very more on the other side, such to say. Yeah.
Yolanda, I'm going to say you've astonished me because you've told me parts of the story that I will say either I didn't pick up at the time we first spoke, and maybe this was because you're talking very intimate details here. Maybe you didn't talk about those details in quite the depth, but I'm going to say I don't remember this part of the story. And when you have just mentioned about pulling on the placenta, I was astonished. I will say to you that of course I am retired now, but I'm married to a lady who was a midwife. So within the family, let us say that there's quite a lot of knowledge about births in various circumstances. And when you said what you did, I thought, my goodness. So this is done to you, and you end up in hospital. You've lost a huge amount of blood, and I would assume you were semi-conscious while you were actually uh, uh, taken into hospital. So what happened when you were in hospital? What did they do for you?
Brian, let me just go back in something that I find that is a very important detail. When me and Leon we visit the birth center in Forest is the birth center near Southampton. It's now on is anyway, I don't remember the name now. The lady after I said that, after she said what she said to us, like if you do not want to do the touch exam in here, this is not the place for you to be. I said to Leon, it's time for us to leave, because she did ask me, what's your midwife's name? And I found that, like, why do you want to know? Like, what's that got to do with you? And I didn't say the name, I didn't provide my surname, but when we are back in the train, I receive a phone call and it was her. So somehow she did find out who I was. And I don't know if she found out who Leon was. And I don't know what she has got to do with all of these. So I think it's important details. I don't know if someone got upset.
This is very interesting, Yolanda, because very often in stories around children and problems with social services, mothers or fathers and fathers talk sometimes about strange events, little strange things that happened that at the time very often they didn't put much significance on it, or they didn't think it was important. It was only later, when they started to think through various things that had happened, that they realized that there were little connections with strange things. So I am absolutely paying attention when you talk about that. The question for me was the birthing center, was that part of the doula organization, or was it separate to her?
No, is in a beautiful place of, I don't know. I have Forest Gate is in London, but is in Hampshire, and is like a forest place. Anyway,
Yeah,
the people from Southampton, they will know. And
the New Forest, it was in the New Forest somewhere.
yes, I believe, yes, New Forest. And it is important to say, because when I arrived, the nurse, she looked like she was a machine speaking. She was a robot. So today we are going to do this, and we're going pa 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 pa. And me being Portuguese, and because she had a very strong accent and speaking very fast, I really wanted to know where I was going to birth my baby. So I had questions to do, and I really wanted to listen to her. So a way to say to her, okay, can you slow down speaking? I didn't say it like that. So what I came up with was, I'm really sorry, I'm deaf. would you mind to slow down, please? Speak a bit slower. And she didn't like it because in a visit through the center, she kept saying, oh, where is the deaf one? Come to here. And I'm like, seriously? I have worked in Harley Street. I'm not used to be treating people like, where is the deaf one? So there was something in there. She didn't like it. And anyway, that's a detail, but I don't know what she did because she did find out who I was. Right, back in the hospital, I went through a surgery that fortunately went well. But later on, the surgeon did say there was a hard one. And when I came out of the surgery, the doula was in there with Leon, and my son was with Leon on his arms. Now, it is important to say that he was well, and he was not a patient in Southampton. I was the one having the surgery. But when I come out of the surgery, completely, still drugged, without my glasses, like barely understanding what's happening, Leon told me, Iolanda, I have to tell you what's going on in here. The nurses, they have been keeping asking, what's our baby's name? And I have explained that we decided to not know the gender of the baby. And because I didn't know he was a baby boy, we had no time to decide the name of the baby. And it's not whilst you are on the surgery that I'm going to decide the name of the baby on my own. So I did say to them, we haven't decided yet. So they kept asking the name every minute. And they were actually literally bullying Leon in the hospital. And the doula did see it. It was a witness of what happened. So I was amazed with my baby. I was in love with my baby. And what Leon told me, I started seeing it myself. The nurses kept coming every 10 minutes asking me, do you have a name for your baby? Do you have a name for your baby? And I was like, I just said, no, not yet. I'm still, Brian, there is a picture of me and I'm completely like drugged. I'm surviving. I'm in love with my baby and I just want to have 1 second of peace. And they keep coming. And do you want to put your baby in there, like on the cot? I said, no, I'm fine, thanks. Have you breastfed? They literally just have seen me breastfeeding. So I was wondering, like, what are they trying to do? They saw me breastfeeding him 5 minutes ago. Why are they asking me if I'm breastfeeding? And they kept coming, and do you want to put your baby in the cot? And I'm like, okay, this is starting to feel very unsafe in the hospital. And let me tell you that Leon is on my side, and we are in a room, and there is a curtain in the middle of the room. And the nurses, they kept coming. There is a corridor, and it's very busy in the corridor. They knock the doors. I have a huge light, white light right on top of me. And I asked several times, can you turn off the light, please? Because I can't rest. This light is disturbing me and my baby. No, I don't know how to turn this off. That was the answer. Several times by several nurses. And a very important detail is that there is no one in the room. I don't know if there is any door on the other side of the curtain, Brian, but I did see there is a shade behind the curtain. I did point it out to Leon, and Leon saw it. So there was a person on the other side of the curtain and was in silence. So I don't know if there was someone on the other side trying to hear any kind of conversations in between me and Leon, but that was very weird. Very weird. So the environment in there is becoming very unsafe. It's bullying is horrible. And there is one moment I did ask, can you provide a chair? We did ask several times, can you provide a chair for Leon? Because he's sitting down in there, it's very uncomfortable. And we have been told that we need to stay for 2 nights in the hospital because of the surgery, and they want to check blood, this and that, and to see if I'm well. And we did ask for a chair for Leon, and it's because it's so uncomfortable for us and for him. I'm starting to think, no, I can't stay in the hospital because this is horrible. Like, this is making my head in, and it seems that they want to trigger me, and I'm not going to do it. I'm in love with my son. I'm in a peaceful mind, but they are really trying to trigger me, like trying to create a reaction, literally. So no one brings the chair, no one turns off the lights. They kept coming for the name for the baby, asking if the baby is breastfeeding. So in the middle of the night, I think there was a shift on the nurses, and they provided a long chair, the chair that rocks to the back for Leon to rest. And the light is still on. Leon is exhausted, so he closes his eyes, he's sleeping, and I'm with my baby on my arms. And there is a nurse that comes in between the chair where Leon is and myself, and she's right on top of me, literally. She bends over on me, and it is so uncomfortable that my baby starts crying. Leon wakes up, he sees that, he finds very awkward, and I ask her, do you really need to be in here? And she said, no. I said, okay, so if you don't mind, please leave. That was horrible. As soon as she left the room, my baby stopped crying. Leon did say to me that was horrible. The energy that came up from that woman was horrible. In the morning, as soon the doctors, they came to me, I spoke to the surgeon and I did plead him. Please, I need to leave. I need to rest at home. Has been very hard in here to rest. No one knows how to turn off the light. The noise in here is horrible. I don't have my glasses. I need to be in a good place of my mind to take care of my son. And he said, this was actually during the night when he came for the visit. And he said, okay, in the morning, if the blood test is all right, you can just keep drinking lots of water. If everything is all right, then you go. Because I did say to the surgeon, even if you say no, I will leave. I will sign a paper and I will leave. So in the morning, the blood test was good, and I have been given the, what's it called in English? The paper. The paperwork that I could leave, and I have been given prescription for the tablets because I was running out of iron and because of the blood that I lost. We're happy. We took some pictures. It was a beautiful sun, and we got a taxi and went home. We went home with the condition that I was going home to rest because in the hospital I couldn't do it.
Iolanda, just to clarify, how long were you in the hospital? 24 hours?
So born on the 1st of February at 4 a.m., I believe. Now I have the 4 a.m. And on the 2nd at 10 a.m., 10-ish, I would say, we are leaving the hospital.
Right.
Right? We arrive home. Leon starts cleaning out the house because it seems there was a crime scene full of blood everywhere. And I'm breastfeeding my baby. I'm taking pictures, and I'm speaking with my parents. And a couple of hours after, someone knocks on the door, and he's not knocking on the door because actually he's intercom, and he's only on for a few minutes. So Leon goes on intercom, and someone's saying to him, "I'm a nurse and I want to see the baby." And Leon says, "Iolanda is a nurse, wants to see the baby." And I just screamed to Leon. I said, "No way. The bullying has stopped in hospital. I came from the hospital to rest at home. I haven't slept because this was a couple of hours. So this happens on the 3rd of February. I haven't slept on that night. And for the time that I'm at home, I haven't slept nothing, nappies and all of that." And I said to Leon, "No, say to them, we book an appointment and we are going to take the baby to them to see them. Not in here. The bullying in here is not happening inside my house." That was what happened in the hospital. So Leon, Brian, I'm Portuguese. Okay, I'm feisty. I'm a feisty woman. And Leon, obviously today you would have opened the door, the window, you would have done it all. You would have done it completely different, I'm sure. And even being a man, you would have taken the things different. But the way he saw me, he said, "Can you please book an appointment and we'll take the baby?" The intercom goes off, and no one insisted, and Leon didn't go out to carry on the conversation. And then we thought, okay, everyone is happy. 2 hours after, there was another nurse opened the door because we want to see the baby. And then it was the midwife that was seeing me on the NHS. And Leon said, "No, Iolanda just said 2 hours ago, no, we booked an appointment." So later on, she called and she was speaking to Leon, saying that she was not happy that Leon didn't open the door. And I said to Leon, "Please give me the phone." I spoke to her and I said, "I'm the one that said, no, we booked an appointment." And she's saying that with the excuse that she wasn't there to provide the things for the birth. And I said, "There is no birth. The birth has happened. You're not bringing the things for the pool now because the birth has happened. There is no excuse to come to my home."
So, Yolanda, was this a separate nurse you were talking to or the original midwife?
So this was the midwife that saw me probably 3 times in my whole birth on NHS.
And was that the midwife that pulled the placenta?
I've never seen her ever again. Oh,
Right.
actually, she went to the hospital while we were still in there in the morning, and she gave the baby boot that was left on her car. Leon didn't recognize her. I didn't. And she might have like, "Oh, you don't know who I am, do you?"
Okay, so this was another midwife that you'd had contact with.
But it's a very important midwife because I spoke to her on the phone. I said, "I didn't like the behavior of the midwife in the home birth. This has happened." And she said, "Okay, there is a paperwork that you probably have been given now from the hospital for the complaint." I said, "I don't want to do any complaints. I just want to be in peace. And please then book the appointment and we're going to take the baby to you to see that he is well." So she booked an appointment. And that Friday would have been the 5th of February, but she said that she was fully booked. So she arranged the appointment for the 12th of February. She never said, "Iolanda, I'm fully booked on the 5th of February and it's urgent because he's a newborn. We have to see him as soon as possible. So let's book something for the hospital and not in here in the GP," or something like that. I'm a mother on the first run, Leon as well. She booked an appointment for the 12th of February. At that time, we would not have him any longer. All right. So after that phone call, we thought everything is fine. The appointment is booked for the 12th of February and everything is fine. On the day after, it knocked on the door. Sorry, not on the door again, on the intercom. And Leon spoke with a woman with a very strong Indian accent, screaming and shouting, "Open the door, I want to see the baby." And she starts speaking in a different dialect that Leon says, "I'm English." I don't know if she was speaking Portuguese or whatever it was, but Leon said, "I'm English. Can you speak in English, please?" And then she says, "Open the door, I want to see the baby." And Leon is like, "What's going on in here?" And the way she's screaming and shouting, no one on earth is going to open a door with a newborn at home, especially someone saying that he's a professional doctor or a nurse. No one behaves like that. So the intercom has finished. Leon said that we had an appointment and like, "You are screaming and shouting. What's this going on?" The intercom has finished the time. She has not rung again. And we're like, okay, there is something very weird happening here. And we decided to Leon call the GP in Southampton. And he's rung saying, "Okay, I have been visited by someone shouting in the GP. And my son is well. He's going to have an appointment on the 12th of February. But yeah, you can come here then and see that the baby is well, because this is getting very weird now." Later on, what we know now that they have written on the paperwork is that Leon called the GP saying that the baby is unwell. Okay. They know that that is not true because the recordings, they exist. Yeah. So a few minutes after, the police knocks on our door, really knocking on the door. And because I was breastfeeding, I don't have my bra on, and I feel very unprotected when the police says, "Can you open the door? I want to see the baby." And I'm like, I never had the police in my home. What's going on? So I say to him, "I'm naked and I don't feel comfortable." And I said, "Okay, that's all right. Get dressed and show me the baby through the window, because we are on the ground floor." We spoke with the policeman on the balcony. He has the camera on. And we spoke to him and we said, and he laughed about the situation. And he said, "I don't know even why I'm here. The mother is just exhausted. The mother is just begging to be left in peace with a newborn. Nothing's happening. And I can see that the baby is well." Because even I said to him, "I'm going to get the baby. But the baby is, you can see the baby is well. I'm going to get him and probably is going to start to cry." He recorded that the baby is well. He has written on the paperwork that it was only a misunderstanding. Yes, let me correct this. It is after that the police that left that Leon called the GP saying, "Please come and see the baby," because we got very scared. Do you understand? I'm just doing this correction.
Yeah. Yes, no, I understand that. Yeah.
Because the police was in there. Now we are like, okay, come and see the baby. Everything is fine. And that's when they put on the paperwork that he said that the baby wasn't well and asking for the doctor. So because now we are scared, because the police has been in the house and something very weird is happening. Someone is very concerned with the baby. We called Ola and we said to her, this has been happening. And because the phone doesn't work very well in that area, she said, "Okay, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to get a midwife in here. Today is Friday. And we're going to get a midwife in here. And everything is going to be sorted out. No worries." So we went to her house. So she would deal with all of that for us. When we are leaving the house, I saw on my phone that I had a voice call, and the phone was off because, I didn't want to scare my baby once he was sleeping and the noises of the phone. So I hear that, and it's actually a voice saying, please come to the Southampton hospital by 5 p.m. And this is, she did say her name, and then the telephone number is 07555, and she gave lots of numbers that the numbers are wrong, and it sounded very threat. It did sound like a threat. Something was going to happen if we wouldn't be there. We did try to run, the telephone was wrong. And at the time that I saw the voicemail, there was no way that in Southampton at 6, 7-ish p.m. we could be in the hospital at that time. So you would sound that we were challenging the authority. That was after we have been seeing the police. Everything was was escalating, and it was not. We were very, very concerned. So we just got nappies, everything very quick, to go to the Dollar's house, because my instinct tells me that I need to leave my house as soon as possible. And when I'm inside the taxi, I say to the driver, please lock the doors. I don't like to be inside the cars with the doors open. That was my instinct to tell me. And I know why that had happened. Because when we were leaving the house and we are right around the corner, there was a man and a woman, a police, coming on the path, walking down. And if the car was not locked, I would scream inside the car, and I would say to the taxi driver, just run. But because the doors, they were locked, I felt that I'm fine in here. The police look at me, we look at them, and we drove inside the taxi. When we arrived to the Dollar's house, I received a phone call. Iolanda, is the police, where are you? We are at your home. I said, oh my God, what's going on? Did you not see us? I did see the police, but I haven't done anything wrong. I didn't know that you were looking for me. So they have written down the legal term that we had abscond. How serious that is. We were in a friend's home on a Friday night.
Well, I'm just going to say at that point, Iolanda, that the expression abscond, we have to ask some questions, because to abscond, you've got to break away from a place which you should be. There must be some compelling reason for you to be in a particular place, whether it's your own home or not. So what I pick up on that straight away is that word has been used deliberately to make it appear as if there was a reason that you should not leave your own home. That's my reaction.
They have written down that they have contacted the airports and all of that. So we are in the Dollar's house. That is still Southampton, and they did track us. And when we are just waiting for a pizza, because by all that has happened, I have not eaten, because we were going to have our lunch when the police turned up at our house. So it was not the pizza, actually. It was the social services. But let me tell you what happened before, because it's very important. The doula is contacting the midwife, and because she's a doula, she has lots of contacts. And she got the chief midwife of Southampton Hospital, of the neonatal service. And she's contracting her to come to see us, to see that our baby is well on a Friday night, because there is concerns with the baby. And the doula gave her address to that midwife because she is in a good faith. And we were contacting as well Beverly. She's from the birth rights of the women. I can't say now those details. So she's the organization of the women rights for the parents. And what she's saying on the phone to the doula is no parent, no mother has to go in a hospital on a Friday night when when the baby is well. And actually, if the baby is unwell, why then they are not wanting the midwife to go to the doula's house? Because that's actually what happened. The doula provided her address, and then the midwife say the hospital is in red alert, insinuating that, and she did say that the hospital was not letting her visit the baby and the parents in the doula's house. So there is concerns with the baby, but they are not letting the midwife go and visit the parents and the baby. So that makes no sense. And if the parents are saying that the baby is well, there is no reason why a healthy baby would go to an environment full of sick babies on a Friday night. This is 3-4 o'clock in the morning, right? So they completely ignored our pleas to not go to the hospital. The doula provided the address to the police because we were in a good faith. And what the doula said is, we just asked for the midwife to come and see the baby. And because we are in a good faith, we want the police to be in here present to report that the baby is well. And once the police, they got the address, they turned up at doula's house. They bang on the door. Her husband went and he was told, you have to let us come inside your house. Otherwise, you're going to be arrested as well for not letting us to go inside your house. So they run on the stairs, and I just want a hole to run away with my son. But there is no holes, and we are on the 3rd floor. And I just literally hear the boots of the police and the social services. And my heart knows that something really bad is going to happen. So the baby is very quiet. This is recorded. This is available on YouTube. The baby is quiet, sleeping. And the social services, they want us, as soon as they see us, there is this paper in here. This is a contract of expectations, mom and dad sign. And Leon said, we are not signing anything. Oh, you have to sign these. No, we don't sign absolutely nothing. So they want us to go to the hospital. And there is a chit chat that there is no reason why you need to go to the hospital. The baby is well. The mother wants to rest. And we just try to explain what happened and what everything happened. And that we're not challenging anyone and trying to explain that the woman screaming in the house, that we just didn't open the door because the mother wanted to rest it, and the police, all of that, But no, they kept saying that Leon called the GP because the baby was unwell. And the police went in there, you didn't want, and now you ran away, completely changed. And we just kept trying to explain that the social service, the woman, she just said, okay, enough is enough. And this is already 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Enough is enough. I'm here to do a job, and you're going to the hospital with your baby or without your baby. And the police is in here to make sure that the baby is going to the hospital. And obviously, we did go to the hospital, escorted by the police inside the police car. The doula did go with us, and she did manage to contract a midwife that she did meet us at the front entrance of the hospital. And she did see that the baby was well, and she's a witness, and she was contracted, and she did see that the baby was well. And then inside the hospital, what happened is very important, because there is a gentleman, not exactly a gentleman, but a doctor, a neonatal doctor, that did say to this nurse that we did contract. And let me tell you that the doula has been thrown out of the hospital, because when the doctor is speaking to us, she's recording. And he saw the phone, and I don't know if he got intimidated by the phone or he knew what he was about to do, that the security came and escorted the doula out, even when she said, okay, I'm stopping recording. That didn't matter. They'd thrown her out. So the other midwife was still in there with us. And the doctor spoke to her privately. And what this doctor said to her is that he was under the orders of the social services, and you would have to take that baby inside the hospital. You would have to admit the baby. And that midwife, my witness, she didn't say that to me. And what she has written down is that she did say to him, okay, you're going to say that to the parents. I will let you speak to them. But the doctor never said that to us, that he was under the orders of the social services. What he did say is that the baby would have to be admitted now in the hospital. And he said that they would have to do tests to the baby, and everything was going to be all right. And we had to leave the baby in the cot. They start putting things on him, injecting him with things, and it was horrible to see the baby crying. And as soon as we left the baby, there was the police that right on top of Leon, and it said to him, if you try to take your baby from the hospital, we're going to take you to jail. You're going to be in prison. And said, why is that? I said, if you try to take your baby from the hospital, you're going to be in prison. And Leon, where's the papers? Why are you taking my baby to the hospital? What's going on in here? Where are the papers? Based on what you are doing this? You haven't provided absolutely nothing. And they said, your baby has to stay in the hospital for 72 hours. And if you try to take your baby out, you're going to be in prison. For those 72 hours, they have not provided no food to Leon. Very little food that have been provided. The little food that have been provided, I have to share with Leon. This is in February 2016 in Southampton. It's cold. In the room, the small room that have been provided to stay while my baby is in there was only a bed sheet. A very cold bed sheet. Brian, I have been tortured. I know I have been tortured. I had 2 doctors. Leon was present, one smiling and smirking and saying, it's hard, isn't it? We took our baby from you. There was joy saying those things. While I was in there, they gave me no peace. We need to measure the blood pressure. We need to do this. They kept coming in the room and measuring the blood pressure. I've been given no time to sleep. As soon as I got in there, I got a piece of paper and I wrote, 24 hours, 48, 72, planning when we're going to leave, at what time. And I didn't want to fall asleep because I didn't want to get lost on time. And we are inside that room, and I'm speaking to Dola, and I'm saying the recordings, I'm recording. And as soon as I said the word recording, someone knocked on that door in that room, and they asked, Iolanda, are you doing some recordings? And then I knew they were listening in their room. And now I have to try to find a way to say to Leon that I know that they are listening, because I was speaking to the doula and I mentioned the word recording, and they came ask for the recordings. And now I know, Brian, that Leon is going to start probably wondering if I'm losing the plot by saying that the big brother is listening. I'm afraid and concerned that my own partner thinks that I'm going mental.
Iolanda, as you are telling this story, and I'm deliberately being quiet, I'm not asking you too many questions because I don't want to break the flow of what you're telling the audience. But as you are telling the story, there are a number of things that you've already said, and it's like a little tick in a box for me. And what I mean by that is that over the years, I've dealt with a number of families who have gone through some horrible processes with social services, and things you have said, the way that this case is building, some of it follows a template, and I can tick something off. So I wanted to share that with the audience. But also, of course, we haven't just got social services at work here. We've got the police, and we've also got what's happening inside an NHS hospital. And I've also interviewed a number of people over the years who've experienced very, very strange things going on inside a hospital along these lines, even when a baby or a child hasn't been involved in the circumstances under which they're in hospital. So I'm going to invite you to. I'd like to invite you to keep going. But I want to reassure you that me being silent doesn't mean I'm not paying attention, because I absolutely am. And for the audience, if there's anybody out there thinking, well, this sounds a very strange story, absolutely, it's a strange story. But one, I know that you are giving a factual account as to what's happened, albeit now many years ago. But also for me, this is another story about how ultimately social services conspire with other authorities, such as the police and the NHS, in order to take not only newborn babies away from their parents, their mothers, but also can be very young children, or indeed it can be older children. But I think that's enough for me to say at that point. So take us back into what happened.
So in that room, later on during the day, Leon kept asking for the paperwork, and they wouldn't give no paperwork, absolutely nothing. We don't know why we are in there. We don't know why the police has been involved. We haven't done nothing wrong. We try to keep explaining every detail, but no one really is interested to understand the situation. The doula did go on the day after to give us food, because we did say that no one provided any food. And they try to block her from the hospital, and they don't let us even speak to her. They isolated us, and Leon even is afraid to leave the room to get food, because he's afraid that they don't let him come in to stay with me. So as soon Leon is trying to speak with Dola, and I'm alone, the doctors come at me and saying that they want to make a meeting. And on that meeting, what happens is that they are trying to take me to the psychiatric ward. And I said, I'm aware, well, and I want to stay with my son. And they keep trying to move me to a psychiatric ward. And it's because I kept saying, no, I'm fine. And Yolanda is saying that she is fine, that somehow they didn't do it. They didn't do it by force. And on that meeting, these two doctors, they do ask me, do you have a window in your room? And my mom later on, after all of that, she did say, Yolanda, you were being invited to jump on that window. When they asked me if I had a window in my room, I didn't know what to say. Like, are they trying to judge my psychiatric, my mind? There is a window in the room. Do I say yes? Do I say no? Why is that important? Like, there is a window in the room. They know there is a window in the room. But I'm like, this is very weird. And my mom was saying to me is that, yeah, they were trying to invite you. Once you have the window in there, and because the situation is hard, just jump. So that meeting finished. And when we go inside the room, there is a woman smirking, very happy. And we think, okay, the things that are going to sort out. But no, she's smirking. She says, you are going to be in court in 10 minutes. And we're like, what? In court? So we go inside the room. I receive a phone call. And, hi, Yolanda, I'm a lawyer. And it just happens to me to be in court. And it just happens that your case is in court. And I have noticed that you don't have a lawyer. Would you like me to be your lawyer? I said, oh, yes, please. I don't know what's happening, but yes, please.
Sorry, Yolanda, this lawyer had just appeared in the hospital.
No, they're on a phone call.
Well, a phone call, right.
Somehow he has my phone number. And in my mind, I'm like, in Portugal, the people, they have time to find lawyers. They just don't receive lawyers that happen to be in court without a case and available. I know that this is in my mind. Everything is so weird. But yeah, in 10 minutes, we received a phone call saying that they were in court and they were actually deciding my future life, my son's life. But the judge, in case, he did say, I want to see the parents. I don't know where the parents are. So we are going to postpone this to another case. And parents, can you come to here? And I said, oh, yes, I'll go. Yeah, I'll go. I don't know which court. I don't know where is the court. If it's in Southampton, if it's in London, I haven't been told absolutely nothing. I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing. And I'm with a smile because it's like, this is a scary movie. So the phone call was off, and we were like, what's happening? And kept asking for paperwork and nothing. And then I'm told by the police that now you have to stay another 72 hours. So it's not just the first 72 hours. You have to stay another 72 hours. And there is a policeman that has written on the paperwork that is abuse of power. He has never heard about 72 hours on top of another 72 hours. But the issue is because the first judge that they did go to didn't see the parents. He didn't want to do the job. So they were trying to find another judge. This is what we wonder now. And because the baby is well on those 72 hours, and the doctor that is in there did says that the baby is well, because what they did to him to imprison my son in the hospital, and for them to know that I was not going to take him from there, they put him under the lights, the blue lights. So he's with the ECG, and if I try to take my baby from there, that is going to beep. So they're going to know that we're trying to take him. So they put under the blue lights that probably there was even no need for it. But what the doctor, the one that said it was under the orders of the social services, what he did on the report was that the baby was at serious risk of brain damage. So he needed that treatment.
And what was the basis for a serious risk of brain damage?
I suppose it was just under the social services, the orders of the social services, because he said that the baby was dehydrated. That's all. And that he was with that brownish color that is normal when the baby is actually, they breastfeed. So it's completely normal. What's it called? The jaundice.
Jaundice, yeah.
Yes. He did write that the jaundice was a severe jaundice, and he had to do that treatment. But my midwife, when saw the baby, has written down that the nappies, they're wet, the jaundice is normal, and was the 5th day, and the jaundice always comes up on the 5th day. So, and everything was fine, or everything was just an excuse to keep the baby in there. There is a doctor in there that says to me, Iolanda, you cannot breastfeed your baby because your milk is not good. I said, no, my milk is good, and actually I'm doing very well, so I'm going to breastfeed him. No. Otherwise, actually, you have to prove that you have good milk. You have to pump. I don't know now how much she did say. Has been nearly 9 years, but I have everything written down. I think she did say, like, you have to pump 10 mils of milk. Brian, that's a lot. No woman would have to pump 10 mils of milk to prove that she has milk. But because I was doing actually very well, I did 10 mils of milk. And with all my strongest, because I was alone, because they have thrown Leon out of the hospital because he had asked for paperwork. And that doctor said that he was rude. So now I was alone in the hospital. And with all the strength that I had in my heart, I did say to her, I have 10 mils of milk. I have proven to you enough that I have milk. Can I breastfeed him? Because they wanted me to give formula to him. So all my rights, they were being completely taken out. And while as I was with my baby, waiting for another 72 hours to finish or something to happen for them to say that we could leave because he was well now. Even the doctor said that the baby was well. He could go. So we, just for you to understand, like, I had a bottle of water that dropped it on the floor. And someone said, don't drop, be careful. Don't drop your baby on the floor like you just dropped the bottle of water. So I had the police looking at me. I had the security, all the men in there looking at me with guns. And I had just my baby, and I just wanted to go home. And we were waiting something to happen. We don't know what. And then at the end of the day, on the 9th of February, because we went to the hospital on the 5th of February. And on the 9th of February, around 7 p.m., a social services came with a huge amount of paperwork and said, because my baby is in the cot, they don't let me stay with my baby in that meeting room. There is a lot of police outside, and in that meeting room, they give us the paperwork and they ask me, do you want to say goodbye to your baby? And I said, goodbye to my baby? What do you mean with that? We're going to take out your baby from you. I said, no, my baby's not going anywhere. No, this is the paperwork. And now you have to go through the paperwork and you need to get a lawyer and this. And then I said to Leon, after we were like chitty-chatting, and Leon, let's go and say goodbye to him because they are going to take him. And they said, you did say you do not want to say goodbye to him. You left the hospital already. Babies that they are well, they cannot stay in sick environments. And then we were escorted out of the hospital like dogs by the police, by the security of the hospital. And we returned home in silence without my baby.
Yeah. Iolanda, yeah.
On the day after, we were told that on the day after, we were going to receive a phone call saying a meeting point to visit my baby. And I'm thinking, like, this looks like a movie. They're going to give an address in the middle of somewhere. And on the day after, they rang saying, actually, we don't have a room. So today, you cannot see your baby. So now we're going to give you a plan of dates for you to come and visit your baby for a couple of minutes. But before, you have to sign a contract of expectations. And if you don't sign that paperwork, you are not going to see your baby. And now, we are deciding if your baby is going for adoption or if it's going back to you. I'm like, adoption? Me? He has the mother, he has the father. I have grandparents. Leon has his mother. I have never heard about a baby going for adoption with family. But actually, the paperwork asking for his adoption was done on the 5th of February, when he was still with me, when no doctor would have seen if he was well or unwell. Let me tell you as well that on the paperwork, what they have against us is only future emotional risk of harm. And they do mention MMS, but it is not a crime, and they even have written down. So Leon has interest for MMS, is master mineral solution, and it seems it's not very good for the pharmaceutical industry, probably, or people healing things doesn't give probably much money. So that problem is an issue for many people. And I don't know how much that has been actually the reason for all of these. I only can tell you that now, years after, one day when I woke up, I got an idea from my dream, and it was like a eureka moment, because one day when I was pregnant, and on that day when we went to visit the midwife, and the midwife is to the right in Southampton, and if we only go to that road if you were going to go to see the midwife. Otherwise, we would go north to the town center or south. And on that day, when we went to the midwife, there was actually in there the black van. And when we walked past that black van, it came up the journalist from BBC, Leon, Leon, Leon. And Leon ran out on the streets because he did not want the journalist near me. And after they did a hit defamation on him, saying that he was using bleach with babies.
Just so that I've got this correct, Yolanda. So this was one of your early visits to the midwife. There've been no other problems. So you're pregnant and you're going to see the midwife, and on one of those visits, the BBC ambushed Leon over his, we'll call it campaign work with regard to MMS.
And Leon, I did shout to Leon because Leon was running. They came after us when actually was a red light for the passengers. So he crossed the road. You was like running on the middle of the streets with the cars, and I did shout at him, Leon, in the GP, in the GP. So we went inside the GP, and the journalists did not went on top of him because he was inside the GP. And it's only years after that I'm like, did they know that I was pregnant? Did they plan this defamation piece so the people that would not support us? Did they know that I was pregnant? Because I was single. I have not given Leon Edwards as the name of the father because he was doing MMS and I know what he was doing. But I thought if they're going to do something bad, they're going to do bad at him. They're going to imprison him. I'm the mother. I haven't committed no crime. If he has committed a crime, please imprison him. But don't take my baby from me. I'm the mother. And my baby has grandparents. What's the crime that I have committed? What's the crime that my son has committed? And Leon has not committed no crime. We have been inside the police. We asked to the Portuguese government for help. They have provided no help. I did a massive campaign in Portugal. I have been everywhere on the TV. I have been in the front cover of the most important magazine, the political magazine in Portugal. I've spoken face to face with the president of Portugal, and that moment was captured by the TV live. That was news. I did a massive campaign. I joined lots of Portuguese mothers, and it was made a huge documentary that was very high in the views in Portugal. And the Portuguese people, they got to know that England kidnaps babies for forced adoption, because I made other mothers to speak up and to share their stories. And my baby name became the name more used in 2016.
Yolanda, you've given us an absolutely incredible story, and I'm going to stick by my comments that as you were going through it, there were various things which, for me, because I've heard it from other mothers, it's almost like I can tick a box. One of the things that you said, and I thought was particularly significant, was when you were clearly being challenged over breastfeeding. And what I learnt in dealing with another mother, another case a little while ago, is that if the social services ultimately intend to take a baby away from a mother, they will very often try and stop breastfeeding as soon as possible, force the natural mother to go on to feeding by bottle. But this is almost a technique. Well, it's been suggested to me by a midwife that this is actually a technique to start breaking the bond between the mother and her own baby. So there were other things that you've said which I thought were very, very significant. But I don't want to stop your train of thought. So you've taken the audience very carefully through all of the things that happened up to the point that you're now into the court system and paperwork is going to and fro. So tell us what happened as this bizarre story moved into the family courts in UK.
Brian, I've decided, while as you're speaking, I have decided to share something with you that I have never done it before publicly. Because people sometimes can be mean and can judge. but I'm going to provide that information to you and to your audience. Once a mother has been told, once I have been told that you have to pump milk, I'm put on a position of learning to use a machine that is actually hurting my breast and that is actually doing something psychologically that is so nasty that when the woman that is explaining to me how the machine works and going through all the process, I'm actually only watching her lips moving and I cannot understand what she's saying. And when I'm told to pump milk again, the 10 mils of milk, I have to use that machine again, and I cannot even stay with my baby on my arms. What I want to share with you is that the psychiatric, they say one thing, the psychologists, they say another thing, the spiritual world says another thing. What I want to say to you is that my mind and my body, they're separated while as I'm using that machine. The torture was so bad that I believe the spiritual world has protected me while as I was through that torture.
And the machine has got I'm going to use the word psychological. It's got a psychological element to it. It's breaking that intense physical bond between a mother and her newborn baby. But it's also got a physical aspect in that for you that it was painful to use a breast pump.
It's horrible.
It's psychological torture is actually what you have already touched on several times in your story. You haven't described it as that, but when you talk about officials who are lying, they're not telling the truth. You have one set telling you one thing, another set of professionals telling you another thing, and they're certainly not being kind to you. They're talking to you in a very authoritative way. They're bullying you, they are demeaning you, they're undermining you. This is actually the application of psychological manipulation in its simple sense, but actually because of the intense pressure and stress and anxiety that places you under, I think it is perfectly reasonable to say that you're actually being psychologically tortured, and they were using your baby and your relationship with your baby in order to do that to you.
And I was sleep deprived. I was sleep on the 9th of February. I was sleep deprived since the 31st of January. And I did say that several times, and I was completely ignored. That sleep deprivation is the worst form of torture since ever.
And also the other bit that goes with it, Iolanda, which I noted, is that they didn't want to turn that light off. And of course, that is because even if you do go to sleep with a light on, a bright light, you don't get quality of sleep. But actually, a bright light very often will stop people going to sleep. So they were not subduing. They were not reducing the lighting in the room, which would have been a calming thing, particularly for a newborn baby. They were keeping that bright light on, and there was a reason for that.
And the room that was provided for me to stay while my baby's in the hospital is right opposite to the lockers room of the nurses. So every 3 hours, the shifts they change, the lockers, so there is no quiet, no peace. So once they take the baby from us, we were told that on the 19th of February, we are going to be in court. We were told that we could not have the same lawyer, but actually on the paperwork is written that we did not want to have the same lawyer. And we had to rush and get lawyers. They are obviously from the government. We don't have money, and no time, and we had to rush and just get one that is actually available. And in court, what happened is that I'm in the room and I'm actually just speaking to not the lawyer, because my lawyer didn't turn up in the court and he didn't even say to me, he didn't think that was important. So I'm just meeting a barrister for the first time and I'm just telling everything. And then we go to the court, and everything that was said that we were going to do, like saying that I'm Portuguese, I have my parents are in Portugal, that the baby, and moving the situation to Portugal because I'm Portuguese, none of that has been told in court. We were told that we we're going to speak to the judge. The judge never spoke to us, so nothing that was planned actually was made. So they were actually deciding my life, but nothing that was really important was being said. In the meanwhile of the court, when there is a break, I go to the room with my barrister, and Leon is with his barrister and the lawyer. And my barrister says, Iolanda, sign in here against Leon. And if you sign, the judge might consider to give the baby to you. I'm like, what? Against Leon? I know who Leon is. Leon never did anything wrong. What the hell is this? I'm able to choose a good father for my own son. This is really wrong. Why my barrister is doing this instead of going to court and saying she's Portuguese? No. So I rush the room. I go to Leon's room that is with his lawyer and his barrister, and I say, Leon, they want me to sign against you. And his meeting suddenly just stops. They jump out of the room very quick. And Leon says to me, they were telling me, my lawyer was telling me that you just had signed against me. And I'm like, oh my God. Our own lawyers, barristers, they were conspiring against us.
Iolanda, there's something else here, and if I may, I'll bring this in, that it is very, very common that an early tactic by social services, when social services are targeting a family or a couple for the child, very early on, they will try and break the bonds between the husband and the wife or the partners. And so when you started to say that to me, I knew exactly what was coming. So I'm going to say to you, I'm saying to the audience that this is an absolute standard tactic. And what they're doing, why they do it, is because, of course, if you have a couple that are working together, they stay strong, they support each other. Mum and dad have got an inherent strength in the relationship. And so if they can break that relationship early, it's much easier to subsequently take the child. Sometimes couples will succumb to it, they give in and they say, okay, and maybe the mother is allowed to keep the child for a while on her own, but invariably, as time goes past, they will then go to get the child off the mother. And of course, she's more vulnerable because then she's completely isolated and on her own. So you are describing things which I'm echoing back to you, and I'm talking obviously to the audience to say that what Iolanda is talking about here, absolutely real. And there are hundreds, there are, I believe, thousands of couples where the same technique has been used on them. But what a coincidence, Iolanda, that you should go into that room and, of course, spoil the plot because Leon was being told a rather different story.
And but they were dealing with a loyal couple, and my son is a result of love. And obviously, I didn't do what the other mothers usually they do. Oh yes, I'm going to get that chance. Then I'm going to try that way. Obviously, I knew because if they are saying that I don't even know how to choose a man to be a father of my son, I asked. Obviously, I'm not a good mother either, and that is not the circumstances. Like Leon is a good man. I know exactly who Leon is. He's a good man and has not committed no crime, and we stick together. So basically, after that situation, they postpone to another court, and they move our son to another visit center, much further away, more than one bus driver away, more than 1 hour away on a bus, like really, really far away to make everything harder and harder. And on the visit center was lots of babies, and you have to be in that room 15 minutes before. Then the baby goes, and then you have to stay in there. So just to make sure that you're not going after them. It's lots of locker rooms. It's like a movie. Like you can see they are child trafficking.
And again, it is psychological torture. That's what the mothers and fathers described to me, to go into a very cold, a very austere location in order to see your own child. And then very often there are restrictions. Some of the mothers are told that they're not allowed to say to their own child that they love them. So you have a child taken away from you when you are allowed to see that child in a contact center setting. You're not even allowed to cuddle the child or say that you love them.
Yes, you're not. My baby was a baby, and I was being told that I was not even allowed to cry. So the situation happens, and we are told by a friend, actually, Judge David Wynn Miller, American. He says to her that you need to make the case public because this is child trafficking, and the only way that we can actually get your baby back is that if you make the case public, and then they will go back and they give you the baby back. But actually, I think they were very scared, and they made us a lesson to everyone. And actually, what the judge has written down, it is important to stress, however, that no court has made any findings on those local authority allegations, because they even have made blood tests saying that the baby has not been given no bleach. And this judge from the High Court of London, he has written down, there is a very real danger that by continuing with their current internet campaign, they will only achieve the very thing they profess to be trying to avoid, permanent separation from their son. So basically, we were punished because we screamed for help publicly.
You're punished for that scream for help, but you're also punished if you don't. So in the contact centre, a mother is told she's not allowed to cry. But if the mother doesn't show any emotion, she's then criticised as being cold with her own child. The key weapon used by these authorities is psychological manipulation. And a question for you, at the stage that the case is going through the family courts, what is the baseline for the continued removal of is it the risk of future emotional harm, or have they moved on to a new accusation?
In court, I have heard the judge asking the local authority, you have questions related to the mental state of the mother. And he did answer, we have seen her CV. She has worked in Harley Street. We are not going that way anymore.
Sorry, say that to me again. I didn't quite understand what you said.
So the judge is asking the local authority if they still are wondering about my psychiatric uh, capacity
State.
state. And his answer is, we have seen her CV. We are no longer on that path.
Okay, so the inference was that because you've got a professional CV, that actually you're of uh, some professional social standing, and therefore they didn't think that they could be trying to make out that you had some sort of psychiatric problem.
Yes. Let me tell you, Brian Garish, that the guy, the priest, the highest priest of England, the one that put the crown on the king, King Charles, he was my patient in Harley Street. So, I'm very proud of my professional path, and I have studied English, and I have a Cambridge certificate from the university for my English, because I was dealing with private patients, and I want to be proud of my English. And now I'm sometimes in Portugal, I'm asked by the English if I'm actually English because of my accent. So yes, I'm very proud of my CV.
Yes, quite right. Okay, so how long does this court process go on for?
They did say that the end line would be the 10th of June 2016, but they have written down that once the case was public, they had to rush out, and they did. They shortened out the time.
And the UK column, you made contact with us, or Leon made contact with us, and we reported on this case. I think it was in April 2016. But but of course, at that stage, you were living the case, and so I perceived I could understand, and I've of course understood this with other cases, that it's so difficult for the parents to know which direction to go into, because sometimes publicity can be helpful in that it alerts the public, it does put the courts under pressure, but alternatively it can actually cause them to become more vicious in how they treat you. And so I did understand that when we were initially able to speak to Leon about the case, that it was still difficult for you as a couple to understand quite what was the best way to go. And the other thing which goes with it is who to trust, because you are very quickly in a world where you learn you can't trust a lot of people. You can't trust social services. You can't trust your own legal team. You can't trust the police, and you can't trust other members of the public that step forward and say they want to help. Most of them do, but some of them don't. So you live in a very difficult world to try and pin down what's the best route to go. So I've interjected a bit there, but so the pressure comes on the courts. What do they do then as they realise that this case is becoming public?
So we did had Daily Mail at our home taking pictures and taking our story. But after they were told that they could not publish, they were not
But
allowed to publish.
they were told that by the courts.
Yes, because there was what's it called?
Restriction on it. Well, it might have been a D notice, but normally it's a reporting restriction under the family court rules.
Yeah, now I'm missing actually the word, but is the I know it's missing the legal term, but is interjection.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's basically saying you're not allowed to speak on publicly on social media, none of that. Otherwise, you're going to be arrested. We're going to take your money from your bank, and all of injunction.
So the family court took an injunction against you and Leon.
And the Daily Mail was not able to publish the case because of that injunction.
And the injunction was also indicating that they would take money from your bank account. I've never heard that before.
Yes. So Sue Reed, she has not published the case on the Daily Mail, and she gave us the information that she knew that Southampton, and it seems is the top cherry of UK on kidnapping babies, has done it for more than 20 years. And actually Southampton Hospital is called a very special hospital, has a special name, is where legally is where mummies dump the babies. So basically they could actually say that it's actually abandoned by the mother. So it is all legal. It is a very, now I don't have that name now, but anyway, I want to share to your audience as well is that my court procedure had more than one court case. And that obviously, that is a breach of evidence. I want to say as well that there was one court case that the paperwork had the date of the 8th of April 2016. And the paperwork was inviting us to go to the court on the 1st of April. Yeah, on the past. The date of the paperwork was the 8th, but to go on the court on the 1st of. And that paperwork, I will share with you, I don't know if you can see it, but was very dodgy. Full of mistakes, and even the logo is different. The logo is different, lots of mistakes, very dodgy paperwork. The paperwork for me was the 1st of April, for him was the 1-1, not 11, because they don't write 11 like that. It's 1-1. And when we share that to the judge, David Wynne-Miller, he said, that paperwork, they're going to imprison you. They are inviting you to go to a place that is not a court, that is not paperwork, that is all fraudulent papers, because we never have been provided paperwork signed by the courts. There is nothing. And
Iolanda, did you just say that a judge warned you of that?
This is David Wynne-Miller. It is Leon has studied that and is grammar. I cannot.
No, I understand. I understand what you're talking about. Let me say this to you is that when I initially started to work with families and I tried to help them as a Mackenzie friend, I also learnt, because as a Mackenzie friend I could go into the family court hearing. So it was a two-way process. I was trying to help, but I was also learning. I come from a professional background, albeit in the military, but I was astonished when I started to read court documents, which were full of spelling mistakes. They were full of mistakes in grammar. They were full of just amazing errors. But after a while, I came to the conclusion that these were not errors at all. I came to the conclusion that these were deliberate mistakes or strange expressions within grammar, for example, English grammar. And they were done because essentially this was people communicating with each other through official documents. That was my personal conclusion. And I'm very interested in what your response to that is. You may agree or you may disagree.
Yeah, so David Wynne-Miller is made a judge. He's not a judge or a lawyer by the law, not by the theatre that exists in the court, in the system. He's made a judge himself because he studies quantum grammar and he uses the correct sentence structure, communication, parser, syntax, grammar, and he uses that to rescue children. And he has done that in Australia. He has helped children to be rescued from that system, the corrupt system. But because there is issue with UK and with the Queen, and because he caused several harm to UK, it was not possible to go to UK. So whilst we are actually in court in communication with him, and we put a paperwork asking, and I did ask, give me the correct sentence structure. Is I can go through my paperwork and share it in a while I find the things. And basically what I'm saying to the judge, and I did ask, and Leon did it as well, and while as he say those words, then he has been thrown out of the court. And basically what we said is, give us the correct paperwork written in the correct grammar that shows that we have committed any crime. Otherwise, give us our baby to us. And because we put this paperwork in court, we have been thrown out of the court. And very weird, the judge came out. Actually, she didn't come out to the court because I provided those paperwork to the, the woman in the court.
The clerk.
Yes. Once I gave that to the clerk and she asked me, is this a threat? I said, no, it's educational. And then very weird, the court didn't happen. So it's very high profile. So they did that very quick. And because this happened, because we are coming from London doing this paperwork, we arrive in Southampton and there is paperwork under the door, like as always, all the paperwork from court was always under the door. There is nothing gone through the post office, nothing at all, nothing is signed.
It usually arrives very late, maybe hours before a court hearing, and it often arrives on a Friday.
Yes. So the paperwork was done on the Friday. This is Sunday early. We rang him saying they want us in court tomorrow because it is a final court and they want to send our baby for adoption. And we did go and we did ask for the correct sentence structure parser for all of that. And we have been thrown out of the court and we haven't seen our baby since the 4th of March 2016, the last time that we saw him in a visit. And what have they used? Yeah, future emotional harm of risk. And all the paperwork, nothing is signed. Is all. I don't know. Should I share a picture of the judge? I have it in my website. Okay, so I believe this is justice. When they use the robes, is always a bit different. She is justice. She's the one that did all the paperwork.
Yes, and I've heard about her from other cases.
She's the nasty one, and this is the one that is involved. This is Justice, the one involved in the High Court, that said they haven't committed no crime, but because they made the case public, they're going to be punished.
Yes, they are terrified of people. Yes, yeah.
I would like to share the image of the Live Life claim that we made to say based on these. So he is not. We didn't do a birth certificate for him. He's not the property of the state. He's our property, you see. So he's a Live Life claimant with the things that we learned from the judge, David Miller. You see? Later on, the social worker, she did a birth certificate for him without the father name.
Court documentation, the manipulation of the documentation, special languages, codes. I absolutely believe this is happening. So I haven't, or I don't think I've heard of sorry, was it Daniel Miller before David, but I
In Portugal has happened something very, very important, because it has been proven to us what the judge David Miller was saying, it was happening. And it was about the different planes. When I'm in the government and I made an appointment to speak with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, they did say, put them in the plane, in the step room. So,
sorry, in the what room?
Step room.
Step
Room, yes. A room with a square on it. So you go inside the room, and usually it's all in this one field, one plane, yeah?
Yes.
That room had like a step, and it was in a different level. So different levels.
And where were you? What was the location?
An office inside the Portuguese government of the Foreign Affairs.
How interesting.
Yes.
That to me sounds Masonic.
So the things when a prime minister is speaking to an audience, he's always been given a square, different plane. The judge is in a different plane. When the judge is on the court, they say, all rise. So all of these, we were taken to a different room to deal with that. And then what happened in that room, it's very interesting, because we're speaking about the case in one field, one level. And the guy, when was speaking to us, he went to the different level. And then we jumped to the same level, and he came out of the level. So the conversation was always trying to not being on the same level.
And of course, the English expression is, if you're telling the truth, that you're on the level.
So what we were being told by David Miller, and the paperwork that I always do, and I keep doing, he always has the same number, the procedure number.
Yes.
Put by the postal. We put a stamp. We autograph, not sign, because
Yes.
that sign they are dead. We autograph. And on the back of the paper is always my autograph as well. And when I met in Portugal the president of the council of Figueira da Foz, where I'm from, I went to see him because he was the president of the council, because he was a judge with specialty in women trafficking. And I did say to him, now you have responsibility, because I came to you, I got the case to you, because you are a judge, because you are the president of the council, and I'm from here, and I'm asking help from you. And what he did to the paperwork, when he received the paperwork that I gave to him, he put like that on the table, but my autograph was still in there. So
yeah, but he turned it face down.
He did turn face down, like
yes,
that.
Yes.
But my autograph is still on the top. And it's these small details, they are not details, it's not a coincidence.
No, it's not a coincidence. And I have learned of paperwork being turned over before from other families. We assumed that when it was turned over, I can't see it. It doesn't exist.
Exactly. But we did all the paperwork like David Miller. We sent Pope, we sent to the United Nations, we sent to the Vatican. There was motu proprio. We did all that paperwork, you know. Very interesting. I'm living in Portugal, not in the area of my address. But I did receive, on the area where I'm on, a letter from a private detectives in Portugal from paperwork from the English court. So they let me know, we know where you are.
Right. Yeah. And again, this is not unusual.
It's international, isn't it?
Many years ago, I dealt with a lady, a French lady who'd been married to an Englishman. He was clearly abusive with the children, two girls, two little girls. And eventually, to her surprise, in the court battle, she was allowed to take the children back to France. And she thought basically they were going to be safe in France because she had the girls. And ultimately, what happened was one day she got a letter from the local judge telling her to bring the girls into his chamber. And she said, I knew what was going to happen when she took the girls. She said, if I didn't take the girls, the police would come. So at the moment she was in his chambers, the girls were taken off her. And they were subsequently flown back to England and given to the abusive family. But there were occasions when she had effectively tried to hide in parts of France, and this sort of thing happened. That it was as though she was being told, "We know where you are."
But when after we made the case public, I did ask for the help of the Portuguese consul, like straight away. Later on in video, that I recorded and I made it public. She didn't like it. What actually she's saying is that do everything that the social services they are saying. They wanted to do the psychological test. We didn't do it because we know everything goes on borderline personality disorder. And then I organized a protest in Portugal, and I decided that I'll be stronger in Portugal with the media if I was there. So we booked the flights last minute, and we flown to Portugal, not knowing if we were going to be able to go out because the police could block us on the airport. But once in Portugal, then I have been told by a journalist, I know her name. She writes to the Portuguese a newspaper here in Portugal, an English lady. I got her contact saying, if you go back to England, you're going to be arrested. And she did the first article good on us, and the other two, they were nasty. And now, a few moments ago, I did watch a video saying that in 2018, Russia has arrested 400 people for writing things on social media, and England has arrested 3,300.
One thing I know for sure is that children always start looking for their parents. There is no child who comes to know that their parents are not their real parents that doesn't start looking for their real parents. And of course, youngsters are very good on social media, and everything is possible on social media.
And I'm always, and the energy, you know that if I think about you, you're going to text me. You know that happens. And I'm always thinking about him, and I create an environment. There is aunties online thinking about him. I post things, I share for other children. If I'm doing for other children, I know that those families, they think about as well. So, Brian, The fact that the Portuguese government made that movie only shows the importance that I have. The fact that was the name more used in 2016 and has never been common in Portugal. Never. I know that the Portuguese, they heard me.